Hello friends, welcome back to Astrology Today. My name is Mel Rose and today is Wednesday, May 3, 2023. The sun is here in the land of Taurus, and Taurus, when the sun is in Taurus, that's our work, social, and civic lives, sort of who we are out in the world, working to establish material comfort and stability. We seek the security from knowing that we have the compensation that we need, the resources coming in that we need, and also the resources, for ourselves that we require to feel supported and to feel like we can go ahead and do the work that we're doing in the world. And then the moon is a waxing gibbous in Libra. It will be full in Scorpio on Friday, but for today it's in Libra. And when the moon is in Libra, this is when we're seeking balance, when we're seeking truth, when we're enjoying the beauty, especially of our home lives and in our close relationships. So we want things to be fair between us and the people that we keep close. And since the moon is a waxing gibbous, this is a time when we are also taking action to complete some goals that we set for ourselves either earlier this month or before that even. So, we're very close. It's Wednesday and the full moon is on Friday. Friday is when we celebrate the culmination of those goals. So whatever it is that you're working on completing right now, see what you can tie up in the next 2 days so you have something to look back on, pat your back and say, hey, I did it. I took care of business, right? Okay, so this week is Beltane, Monday through Friday. The first Monday, which was the first, it was solar Beltane, which is the sun's halfway point between spring equinox and summer solstice. This Friday on the 5th is the moon's Beltane, the lunar Beltane. So that's the moon's halfway point between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. So here we are in the peak of spring this week. We have about 6 weeks until summer solstice comes up. This is a time traditionally of fires, feasts, dancing, playing, and really just, celebrating the abundance that we see cropping up in the world as the days get longer and warmer. There's foliage on the trees. It's a lot greener outside. It's hopefully, nicer weather outside. And also, this is a time when we are setting our intentions, or if you do ritual and spell work, we're doing ritual and spell work to protect the things that we are growing. Remember, sun is in Taurus. We want that material security. So traditionally what we would do was rituals to protect the cattle that we had in a herd, or rituals to protect the crops that we had just planted or we're just getting to plant, right? So, whatever it is that you are working on that, helps you build that sense of material security and stability, now's the time to be thinking about what it is you can do with your intention, with your thoughts, ideas, and attitudes, but also just sort of with the work that you're doing to ensure the security of that income, of that compensation, of that stuff that has value for you or that you intend to have value for you down the road, okay? Today we have this T square right here between the moon and Chiron and Mars. So the moon is in opposition to Chiron. And when the moon is in opposition to Chiron, this is very brief, it's just for today because the moon moves very quickly. When the moon is in opposition to Chiron, our emotions can run kind of high. And it's a matter of being, of having old wounds activated, of being triggered about past events, perhaps by current events, right? So, there are things that are unresolved in our hearts and our minds and our psyches due to things that have happened previously in our lives. And Chiron is in Aries, so this is really about those childhood woundings of exclusion or having been put on the spot or teased or embarrassed in some way, or, worse than teased or embarrassed, maybe really beat up or rejected, right? So a lot of us, probably most of us, have some sort of wound or some old hurt that comes from childhood, from feeling excluded, from feeling neglected, either that or from feeling sort of too put upon, too made an example of, to put on the spot, right? And the great thing about this opposition, where the emotions are running high and we have the possibility of being activated or triggered, and I do want to give you that warning, The good thing about it is that we have Mars in square aspects at 90 degrees to both of these planets, the Moon and Chiron. So, square aspects, we think of them as challenging. We think of them as kind of negative aspects, negative conversations between Mars and the Moon and Chiron. But it's really a positive thing in that, a little bit of a challenge really allows us to remember why, why we work on these things, helps us in this case remember sort of why our emotions run high when certain themes come up in our life. Our emotions run high when people treat us a certain way, or when we encounter, a certain way of being in others. So Mars is here to remind us of that, but Mars is also action and initiative. And even in Cancer, it may be a little less straightforward, a little more sort of sideways or sort of passive in its aggression, but it is still, it just also in Cancer becomes more protective and more defensive of our wounds, right? So at this point, we're empowered to protect ourselves, when it comes to things that, that activate these old emotions, or things that activate our emotions around these old events, where we are empowered to protect ourselves, to remove ourselves from those situations, or to put up a good defense. But we're also just empowered to take any kind of action that responds to that pain, that, that gives you a sense of agency, right? The terminology they use around trauma is that we find healing when you're allowed to take agency, which means, you're allowed to respond, in real time to the activation, the trigger, the emotions that are running high due to these memories that are coming up. You can take action to relieve yourself of that sort of emotional pain, and to relieve yourself from having to relive those old wounds. So that's today, and it's just today. So here's your heads up for Wednesday, May 3rd. Of course, it can be a little emotional. You can be reminded of things that hurt you in the past, but you can take action either to defend yourself or just whatever action that you can take. Of course, that doesn't hurt other people, because that's not the point, but any other action you can take that can help you feel relieved from your pain, that can help you feel like, this time I was able to do something, this time I was able to respond, whereas in the past I didn't feel like I could. Tomorrow, coming up tomorrow, Venus culminates its square here to Neptune, all right? Venus is in an air sign and Neptune is in a water sign. They are square to each other. So that's, again, a challenging conversation. That's a conversation that is not meant to stop us, although it may make us feel like stopping, right? It's not meant to stop us so much as it is meant to help us remember why we try to move forward. And when it comes to Venus and Neptune together, these things, it comes about self-perception, okay? Like Venus is a little bit like a looking glass, the way we see ourselves in the mirror, our sense of beauty and our sense of attractiveness, right? And Neptune is about the imagination. It can give us illusions, especially Neptune in Pisces. It's at home in Pisces. So, with that square vibe, that challenging vibe, the self-perception can become insecure. We might not like the way we look. We may not feel good about the way we're presenting ourselves, or we just may not be feeling very pretty or attractive in the context of the people, place, and things we surround ourselves, with. And also there's a tendency to over-idealize a situation when we get Venus square to Neptune, idealizing a situation with a friend or a loved one, idealizing any situation when it comes to something that you think that you want, that you'd like to attract into your life, especially if it's something you've never had before. Then you have this idealized idea of what it is, and that can kind of get in the way of your ability to truly appreciate what is there, right? That insecurity about the way you look or how you're presenting, or just how people see you, how people perceive you, can get in the way of your ability really to connect on an imaginative level with other people. And really, it can get in your way of your ability to connect with yourself and with the world, just because you have this sense of, you know, not being as attractive or not being as welcome where you are. Okay, so just remember, just be aware that if some insecurity is coming up, or if you're thinking about a situation like it's going to be this glowing, beautiful situation, you know, often we think we idealize a situation that we're working with, that we're walking into, and then we get there and it's just not what we thought it would be, or it's just like, oh, this is the regular world, huh? It's not the dreamscape I thought it would be, right? So, you know, just don't allow that insecurity or idealization of yourself or other people to get in the way of your ability to connect and make contact with people. And I say that because also today Venus culminates its sextile here to Jupiter. Okay, so Venus and Jupiter are in Aries and Gemini. Fire and air, that's a really good cooperative pair of elements. Fire and air work really well together. Earth and water work really well together. So Venus in this sextile, very cooperative relationship with Jupiter right now. That's, you know, what you like, love, and can't get enough of. Venus, your sense of attractiveness, what you would like to get, what you would like to receive. And then Jupiter is really like that generous aunt or uncle that wants you to have everything that your heart desires, wants you to always feel like you have the capacity to grow in terms of what you can be, do, and have. So in this cooperative vibe, this says that when we're thinking in terms of what we desire and how we would like to grow as people, how we would like to have a higher education or do more travel or have expanded experiences that do help us have a bigger sense of what we can be, do, and have, you know, when we're operating in that sort of framework, then we can actually generate a good outcome. Okay, sextile is generative. It creates something because it gives you tools to work, right? So this is an excellent vibe for socializing. It's also, you know, it's also thought of as an excellent vibe for, I said getting lucky, but, you know, romantic or sexual interaction with people that you feel close to, people you feel attracted to, okay? So if you have an opportunity to just socialize with people you like, or, you know, spend some more intimate time with somebody that you like really well, this is a great time to do it. So if you have that opportunity, take advantage of it. Allow that to generate something good for you, rather than letting insecurity get in the way or idealization of a certain circumstance get in your way of enjoying this fun time. And then coming up on Friday, we have the full moon in Scorpio. There will be a lunar eclipse that day. Okay, so it'll be Sun in Taurus, Moon in Scorpio. These are opposites on the wheel of the zodiac, right? So we're going to have a lunar eclipse. That's going to be a little bit of a shake-up energy. Generally in eclipses, we are asked to lay low. A Scorpio full moon is a good time, you know, like full moons are usually times of celebration where we would get together with other people, but a Scorpio full moon is a pretty emotional full moon. It's a very deeply intuitive full moon, so it might be a good full moon to actually take some time to yourself, because there's this sort of chaos factor of the eclipse coming in, but then there's also just this really deeply felt period of time where you can have all sorts of things illuminated, you know, in your shadows, because that's what the full moon does, is it lights up the night, right? And then coming up on Sunday, Venus is going to move on from Gemini into Cancer, and it's also going to culminate this quincunx here that we don't see on the page yet with Pluto. So when Venus goes quincunx to Pluto, and they will both be on the cusp, that will be an interesting period of adjustment that will last through about the 10th. Okay, so that'll just be a few days, but that will be sort of like, again, our sense of attractiveness and the things that we desire, the stuff we like, love, and can't get enough of, in an adjustment sort of vibration with the transformations that we're going through at this time. And of course, Pluto is retrograde now, right? Mercury is also retrograde now. We're getting into retrograde season. So anything that has to do with your thoughts, plans, and communications, really until May 15, you want to read the fine print. You want to make sure you want to ask all of the questions before you sign any contracts or make any commitments. You want to slow down in traffic. You want to be really careful. And then also, while Pluto is in retrograde, Pluto is a time when Pluto is in retrograde for 6 months out of the year, okay? So it's sort of either in or out, and it's not a short period of time, it's a long period of time. So, you know, for 6 months, we kind of go through these transformations in our outer lives. And then for this 6 months, we sort of reflect on those transformations, the transitions, the changes that we've been through, especially those big, deep, and total changes that we've been through. We reflect on them and we sort of integrate them. We begin to embody them. So whatever it is that we've been resisting, we're going to go ahead and find a way to accept it at that time. Okay, I think that's all I have to say about it today, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that notifications bell. It all helps me very much, and I love your feedback. So please do leave me a message in the comments if you want to. Just say hello. I love to hear you say hello. Or, you know, let me know how the sun in Taurus is going for you, or let me know how Beltane is going for you, or let me know how it feels to have that Scorpio full moon coming up. All right, friends, I'll talk to you soon.